Today we will be working with equations of lines. There are three different forms of equations of lines. The first one is point slope form, where you have, this is an actual letter y, which is why it's darker than the others. This is an actual letter x, so that will stay x and y even whenever you plug stuff in. This y1 is this y1, so it's just a point. And you only need 1 point, so if you're given 2, you just choose one. So don't think it's a trick. If you're given 2, all you need to do is choose one. So this y1 is that y1, and it's usually given as some numbers. So an example would be like 2, 4, in which case we would put a 4 here. This m is the slope. So it could be like 1/2. So that would mean that we'd put a 1/2 here. This is the actual letter x, and then this is x1. So, x1. So that's where this 2 would go in. So we would put a 2 there. So for this example of 2, 4 and a slope of 1/2, this is what the equation would look like. Slope-intercept form. This is the letter y. That will not change. This m is, of course, the slope. So let's say it's 1/2. That would go here. This is the actual letter x. And then plus your b is your y-intercept. So let's say the line hits the y-axis at 4. So you would just plug a 4 in there. Standard form looks like this, where a, b, and c are just numbers. So it could be 2x plus 4y equals 3. So they're just numbers, and you will learn to convert from all of those. And the easiest way to convert is to start with point slope form. Go to slope-intercept form. And finally end in standard form. So now we're going to, using these 2 points, we're going to convert between the 3 forms. So the first thing we need to do is find the slope. So we have x2, y2, x1, y1. And I do it that order because it's easier to start with the negatives. And remember, for slope, it's y2 minus y1. So it's easier to start with the negative, so you don't have to do like minus the negative. So it's -3 minus 1 over -1 minus 1, which gives you -4 over -2, which means my slope is just 2. So then we do it in, we first convert into point slope form. So remember, that's y minus y1 equals the slope of x minus x1. So we're given 2 points here. You can choose either point. I'm actually going to use the right-hand ones because they're positive, and it is always easier to deal with positive numbers because of these minuses. Because if you have negative numbers, those minuses will turn to pluses, and that is easily messed up. So it's much easier to deal with the positive numbers. So y minus, and my y1 is 1, equals, my slope is 2, x minus, and my x1 is 1. And there's my point slope form. My second one would be slope-intercept. So I'm going to distribute this 2 to the x and the 2 to the -1. So that would give me y minus 1 equals 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times -1 is -2. And then I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So that gives me y equals 2x minus 1. And there's my slope-intercept form. And then for standard form, we just need to move this x over in front of the y. So it would be negative 2x plus y equals negative 1. So all I did is subtracted both sides by negative 2. So if I work from here, it'd be like this. That would cancel, and that's what brought it up around front. For number 2, we got to find the slope first. x2, y2, x1, y1. So my slope is negative 1 minus 0 over 1 minus 3, which gives me negative 1 over negative 2, which means my slope is really just a half. So point slope form. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So y minus, and again I'm going to use this right hand one because there's no negatives, so y minus 0 equals 1 half x minus 3. And there's my point slope form. And this one's actually super easy to convert into slope intercept. Because this is already y equals, and then we just distribute the half. So y equals, because y minus 0 is just y, a half times x is 1 half x, minus, and a half times 3 is just 3 over 2. Because 3 times 1 is 3, and it's all over 2. And there's my slope intercept. And then standard. The big thing with standard is we don't use fractions. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of all these fractions. So I'm going to multiply everything in this entire thing by 2. So 2 times y is 2y equals 2 times a half is just 1 minus 2 times 3 halves. That means that these 2's cancel. I'm just left with my 3. Like that. And then we just need to put that x up front. So negative x plus 2y equals negative 3. And we're done with today's notes. Make sure that you guys write down any questions that you might have had during this video so that you remember to ask me in class.